one thing in today's climate that I don't want you to do is think that you have time.
Agreed.
You don't have time. So when he gave you that deal, if you can't handle it, make a call to say, hey, where's this possible? Because can I tell you this? If you can't do nothing with 4 acres, there's somebody else that can.
Yeah.
And so
I could have
any opportunity, try to like see where you
I
can
could have
land
been
it.
in a wholesale situation there, right?
100%.
Bingo.
So although you're looking to become a buy and hold landlord,
Right.
you're going to come across flips and or land that you don't want to operate due to your capital in hand and or your current situation.
Right.
But there's still an opportunity where somebody else can take advantage of it.
Right.
And another man's trash, another man's treasure.
Yeah.
And that's where you could have got a wholesale deal. What's happening, good people? Welcome to another episode of First Generation Wealth Builders, man. I got my guy Andre back with me, and we at it again. How you doing, family?
I'm chilling, man. How you?
I'm good, man. We got a big weekend coming up. Me and the fellas.
Yeah.
We're going to Atlanta to go politic, network, and get in a room
There you go.
with some movers and shakers, you know what I mean? To kind of like inherit some inspiration and some good mojo.
That's
you know
it. That's how you do it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hey, what was that? Do it in the rain. You know, what's that song called? Yeah,
right. Chicken noodle soup. Chicken noodle soup.
There it is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we about to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got the black tie event Thursday. We got invited to, or I got invited to the Him 500 party, birthday party, and then we going to the Circle CEOs event.
Yeah. And man, and shouts out to those guys, man. Like you really put me on to them, and so I started following and tagging everything those guys are doing, and I can't describe how motivating it is,
man,
to see people that look like me doing that,
leading
in a big way too. You know what I mean? Not just like, I mean, because you got people in your local community that it's like they might be closer in proximity, but it's not visibly different, like significantly different, I should say. And then the ones that are significantly different, even if you're in closer proximity to them, I find in Indianapolis, they're older and they're more closed off.
So let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that bullshit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I love my city. I love the people. I wouldn't be where I am without the support of my city. But, you know what I mean? A lot of us are crabs in the barrel. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even that we speak negatively to each other. I don't think that that's really my angle. Mm-hmm. It's more so that we are afraid to empower each other because we're afraid of what you may achieve next to us. Everything is all good, man, when you got a vision board and you got your Mercedes Benz and you got your big house and you know, somebody to come, if that's my inspiration, people be like, man, go kill it. Mm-hmm. Go destroy that shit. Mm-hmm. When you get it, oh man, he's lucky.
Yeah. I
could have been there if I wasn't, doing this and that. Yeah. It must be nice.
Yeah.
So when we become parallel, when we achieve things, it's now, oh, you stunting. No, I'm not stunting. It's just I've acquired the lifestyle that I desired. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And so you catch that a lot in the Midwest. So you laughing just because the shit is real. And you know what I'm saying? Like those guys down there, they're living their lives. They're taking care of their families. They're taking care of a culture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're empowering each other. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm in some of the masterminds.
Yeah.
And, I got, you guys now go know, I got mentorship calls coming up every day, Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. Yeah. And on Monday, we're going to talk about flips. On Tuesdays, we're going to talk about wholesales. I asked a credit guy to get on my mastermind. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking I was going to have to pay him, for his time to come on every Wednesday. Yeah. He literally was just like, bro, we're all here to win. So my goal is just to support you. The only thing I ask back is that you give me some content, therefore that I can market you and myself for credibility. Yeah. That's all he asked for. Yeah. He wanted to see me win. He didn't ask what, he said, man, I travel between here and Cali. Ziggy, did he not say, I'm going to just have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and knock you out? at no cost. Let me ask. I've asked people here to join, and or to even get me some referrals for a podcast,
Yeah.
and I still ain't heard from them. Hey man, so like it ain't that I'm calling somebody out. I think it's just bringing awareness to the mindset
Yeah.
of what we do here locally, as in contrast to what these new modern day leaders are doing.
Yeah.
But enough of the negative. Let's talk about the positive.
So hold on. So right, so
Yep, yep.
I wanna because we went broad and then you went very precise.
Yep.
In our city, there is a feeling that there is a generation that is above, let's say, 50, above 50, that has done some things for themselves and done well. They are difficult to access.
I agree.
That's been the feeling. And there's a group between 50 and I'd say 44, 43, somewhere around there. Maybe even 40, because I'm 40. Let's lump me in there too. And 40 that has not effectively lifted those younger as they were climbing. So they haven't bridged the gap between that 55, 50 and up and that 38, 35, 28, 24. Like that just doesn't exist. And so that's been one of the things as I've been in rooms with the 38s and under that they've said is a big problem in Indy. So now you got the 35s and 36s, 37s saying, I'm bringing the 20s with me as I go. Right. So I think that's an example. I'm trying to illustrate kind of what the temperament is of networking in Indy. I've been fortunate to be in some rooms over the last couple of years, Indy wise, that the only other black people in the room are twice my age.
Fair enough. I've been in that situation as well.
And the ways by which I got to those rooms came from the 35s and under.
But let me ask you this. How did you really get in the room?
Doing the work.
Got you.
So what do I mean by that? Right? So like it's funny how the conversation always goes here. One of the biggest mistakes I see, especially us as black people make, is we bastardize and put down our own church. We come up with every reason to not be involved and engaged in our own churches. One thing I learned from church, some of our best musicians in this city and every city across the country started out in the church. You know what they get in the church? Early exposure and repetitions. My best experiences as a business professional came from taking that same concept and working in my church.
That's a gem right there.
I've been able to stand up and deliver small speeches in front of crowds of 1,500 people on a weekly basis at my church. I was given a $26,000 budget. Me and a team were given a $26,000 budget to run a project to bring over 1,000 people to our church, national artists and all. I was given that opportunity as a member of my church. I was given opportunities to make significant decisions or be involved in significant decisions that weigh heavy on you and you take time to really consider that would change the direction of where we were going as a church. But I got all that experience there. And there are so many of us that refuse to walk in the door and we don't get those experiences. And in my mind, it makes no sense to me because it's like America's not set up for you as a black person to get them anywhere else. Ooh. It's just not. It just isn't, right? But I saw my first conversations around 7 and 8 figure sums of money in the church and how they break those numbers down and pay staff and give and do and invest and make sure that they have no debt. Like I learned all that stuff in my church, how they leverage credit. I learned buying real estate in my church. Then I started getting involved in civic leadership, but I was able to leverage my resume from my church to go from I'm a paying member to immediately on the executive board. The executive board in this black nonprofit agency then got me exposure to larger networking communities in Indy. And I went from, hey, we need you to volunteer for this subcommittee, to we need you to run this group, to we need you to be on the executive board, to we need you in executive committee in less than 3 years. And then that's put me on other boards. But again, I didn't get there because of the 50 and 55s and 60s. It was the 30-somethings in those young professionals groups at my church that were the foundation for, here's how you learn all these skills and here's how you apply them. So when I walk into those rooms, that's why I say it's the work I did.
Got you. Now, I don't want somebody listening to this shit running to the church. This is like angel and the devil. That's cool. I take that. But don't do that. Don't do that. So this is the problem. I say that because this is one thing I see too, though. And I'm gonna be negative Nancy, I guess, today. Like, it's cool though. People help me because they want help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
do you find something wrong with that?
So I don't giving value is giving value.
Sure. Right.
So let's talk about our relationship. So coming into it, I was just like, yo, we something happened. You were absent. I had to move forward, and I continued with the podcast. David was like, man, I think that's the way to go. Yeah. David's my mentor, and so then we just went. Boom. I do the interviews with people, and then me and you then broke off to do a segment. This segment called Dealing with Dre, and you were looking. When I asked you what you wanted, you was just like, hey, I just want to be able to get the mentorship and the resources and the relationships to get me my first deal and to continue my real estate portfolio. I was just like, trying to figure out monetary compensation where there was none, but hey, let me figure it out because I'm going to pay somebody for their time and effort. But I got to get this done. You also do the clips. You also do give feedback and give a lot of different things that you're not asked of, and or it's not in a verbal agreement that we have. And so that's priceless because I get my time to go work on the business and other things. Right. And I say that because it's a full circle and it organically works. Yeah. People might come to me because I just posted a check. And so they feel that they come, but it's almost like a salesman, you smell commission breath.
Yeah.
You smell the bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people don't really help because they want to help. And I'm going to tell you this.
Okay.
I pay David for my mentorship for the podcast. Right. So typically that's a transactional relationship.
Bingo. Right.
I paid, he gives. I paid, he gives.
Right.
All right. But there came a point where that man was calling me during the week or texting me about things I got going on.
Right.
And so then, or he'll call me or things like that, or we're joking. Then I felt like, damn, like I don't have a lot to give to him. Uh-huh. I was like, hey, if you need anything at your next event, I could assist with selling T-shirts or setting up or this and that.
Yeah.
And he was like, we good, got it all together. Then when I went to the event, but then he offered it for me to come for free because he was just like, yo, I changed some things up that might help you. Uh-huh. Now I realized it wasn't even about the money because that's not on our agenda. He just wanted he wants me to succeed.
Bingo.
So then when I got there, I gave him my whole podcast setup. Yeah. The next one, he recorded the whole event with the same setup because he's seen the quality and the efficiency of the product.
Bingo.
I get nothing from what he does. But it's just like I felt like I was just not giving that man anything. Yeah. And I was just taking. Yeah. I feel like we're not self-conscious at all about it. I feel like we're takers locally. And so I feel like, I'm going to be honest with you, that's why it's very difficult for me. Everybody in my inbox is always like, yo, I need that. I want to do that. Oh, I need that. Nobody ever genuinely said, hey, man, anything you need, I could go there. And I feel like, I'm going to tell you what David posted something. David did an event. Wall Street Trapper came. Him 500 came. David did another event. Neo came. There wasn't no ticket on there. They just pulled up to enhance his event because they have an ecosystem that they're building. And they ain't building, they have. And they're all figuring a way to make it an ecosystem where everybody can win.
Yeah.
And everybody adds value to everybody to make everybody better.
So here's the thing I think you got to be careful of, though.
Okay, cool.
I think your assessment, though I would have delivered it differently, and this is why I love our relationship, about Nap is very, very accurate. You will have, I mean, because you and I have talked about this off camera, right? As the podcast is growing, we're both starting to get hit up from people about I want to do and I'm interested in da-da-da-da-da. Those are the default expectations of success. That comes with it.
I agree.
Right? So you can't fault people for where they are in their learning curve when they crash into you.
I appreciate that perspective.
What God has said to me about that experience is I'm more concerned, Andre, with how you deal with them when they crash into you. Because there's going to come a point where some of them learn how to land softly. And they're going to remember which version of Eric they met that day.
Fair enough.
And you never know. I learned this from Gary Vaynerchuk. He talked about he wants to own the Jets one day. So he pours into a lot of people, just like you do. Because he's like, I don't know who I'm going to need to help me make that deal happen. That taught me I need to be careful about how I treat the people that crash into me. Because at one point, I crashed into people too. I just didn't know how to do it. But it was my best attempt at that particular time. And how people allowed me to recover with them has made all the difference 10 years later.
I respect that. That's great feedback.
So just it is frustrating. I get it. Because it's like constant. But they only bumping into you because they know they want to be close. They just don't know how sometimes. Other people are full of it and trying to manipulate the situation. There's no question about that.
But that's a fair critique, though.
Yeah.
And I own that. I own that. That's fair. So let's get back to the positive, though. One thing about those guys down south that they're doing that I love is this. Because you were talking about, the older generation, the middle-aged generation, and the young generation, right? The gaps and the connections as far as pulling up and things of that nature. I think that what I'm witnessing them do that's different is using social media as a tool and not a toy.
You've talked about that before. Elaborate on what you mean by that.
So a lot of us use social media to vent, to give this image of who we are via pictures.
Yeah.
And so, and for me in the past, I've used it to show my productions, whether it's her hair company, whether it's real estate projects. So I would be considered what's called a producer online.
Yeah.
So I show what I'm producing, right? Just to show like growth and people to attract, eyes. The truth is though, as I'm becoming a teacher, and as those guys are servants, I'm transitioning from becoming a producer to a teacher by putting myself and educating others, but becoming a servant by giving back value to the community. Yeah. And those guys have mastered it. And I think that here, or all over the world, I'm sorry, not even here, a lot of us tend to use it and not realize the tool because that's the difference between becoming a consumer and utilizing to be a producer to render whatever product or things we want to do. So I find it amazing the way they leverage their social media networks to really like grow their business. Yeah. Locally, just to speak in Indianapolis, I feel like a lot of us entrepreneurs don't leverage social media because we function a traditional way.
Okay.
And so I'm fascinated, and I love the way they're doing it in a new wave. Yeah. And I think that we're missing that. We're behind the 8 ball right now on that.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I think we took what we used to do and moved it to a digital platform. So much so that we still talk about our posts as flyers, right? Like we just took flyers and stopped putting them on people's cars. and put them on our Facebook pages and the Instagram pages. And I'm not here to say that's right or wrong. I'm just saying we didn't really innovate when we did that. We just switched medium.
Got you. So, to piggyback off that, I'm told to use video. I would say that 80% of my posts today is video.
Yeah.
Because the
Video
truth
gets
is,
more traction.
and so let's talk about the why video gets more traction. Video gets more traction because the reason we go to social media is because we want to be entertained.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that allows me to entertain you and empower you with the educational tip at the same time. And that goes a lot further.
Yeah.
Because I'm entertaining and I'm educating. And so for somebody like yourself that uses flyers and is, trying to innovate, I think that coming up with a video that entertains and educates will be more impactful for the end user that wants to be entertained, and that's why they're going to social media.
I agree. I think we've moved as an economy from competing for consumers to competing for attention. The concept of a consumer no longer exists.
Yeah,
right?
attention pays.
Right, exactly. And so you don't have a loyal customer to a product or service or a brand in the sense that you used to, right? Like we grew up hearing people are Coke or Pepsi people, right? Right. And so while you might prefer one or the other, I think as we move further and further into the future, there's so many more options that are so much more readily available that people are looking for convenience and some type of a connection. That's where I think the entertainment piece comes in. So take that out of the Coke and Pepsi realm for a second, and let's put it into the one of the spaces I'm involved in, which is brunch, right? We have to use videos of the event to make people feel like they missed out or make people remember the experience that they had while they were there. And our hope is that they post a comment, because if they comment, it's branding for us that we didn't even have to do. It's authentic people from the authentic experience giving their authentic feedback. You can't pay for that. Like there's no number that I can put on that.
Credibility.
And exactly. And so I'm not paying in terms of like a marketing or go-to-market strategy for how do I get consumers. I'm paying for how do I get attention. And that's where I think the difference in posting a flyer to try to get somebody to come is different than let me post a video so you feel like you missed out on a great experience and you won't do that again.
Got you. Nah. Good conversation.
I came here for some mentorship though, man. You cutting into my time.
Nah, my bad. I'm bullshitting, frustrated about how people crashing into me, I guess. That's a great analogy though, man. A great feedback. I take all criticism. I own it. So man, what's going on real estate wise?
So, I think some of our last conversations, I was supposed to be getting some real estate agents and figuring out a crew. I've got those things in place in terms of like just starting to see opportunities, right? So I got people sending me leads on stuff. And
So you got an agent sending you emails?
Yeah, I do.
Nice. So what's the criteria on that?
So that's the interesting part. I got so excited in our first conversation that I kind of was like, hey, let's start working together and see how this goes. He came by my house and I hadn't seen anything. So I'm like, hey man, let me drive the conversation a little bit more. Here's what I'm looking for. I gave him kind of 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-story. This is what I'm looking for. I'm still not quite sure on the exact zip codes yet, but I'm trying to figure that piece out. But send me anything you got that you think makes sense. So he's like, hey, I think I've got, a property and then I've got some land that you might want to consider in some up and coming areas. Super excited. He sends them to me while I'm on vacation. I'm looking at them. And my first reaction was, I'm really starting to do this. This is dope. I'm super excited. And then I didn't respond right away because I wanted to sit with the numbers for a little bit. So to give some context, one of them is like 4.5 acres, a little bit over 4.5 acres of just land outside of Indianapolis. And they want just under $300K for it. So at first I'm like, that's great. We can build on it. We can figure out what we're going to do. And I'm like, well, let me just think about it. And then the other one he sent was a duplex, roughly 750 square feet on each side for $159,900 here in Indianapolis. Move-in ready.
What area?
Right by U of I.
That's not bad.
Not bad. So I know what I'm working with though in terms of cash flow, right? And this is where
I mean capital.
capital, yeah, not cash flow, but capital. This is where the rubber really starts to meet the road for me because in some of our conversations, the strategy we talked about was really trying to do it where I can put 20% down and maintain a healthy ARV. There's no ARV in a move-in ready $159,900 property.
Say that one more time. There's no ARV on a
$159,000, $159,900 property that's
Why not?
move-in ready. There's no renovations I can do. There's nothing for me to do.
Oh, got you. So I think that the language that you're using is incorrect.
Okay.
So the ARV is the after repair value. So after repair values is the comparison of another property, you know what I'm saying, that has the same finishes.
So what I'm trying to communicate is
That you just got to put 20% down. There's no money for you to push the the appreciation up.
exactly.
Okay, got you. So in that situation, that is where you put 20% down.
Okay.
And then the bank gives you 80%. Credit above 640, you're good. They're going to finance you. The 640 is just going to dictate your interest rate.
Okay.
If you got above 720, 740, if you're 740 or so, you basically you get a 4.5 interest rate.
So I told him no.
Huh?
I told
Got
him
you.
no.
That's where Dre fucked up and didn't call his mentor. All right, but let's go back.
Dre did call his mentor.
Oh, what was I at?
I don't know what part of the world you were in.
Oh no, so you weren't persistent enough. It's still on him. You know what I'm saying?
I got it.
He ain't gonna land that on me.
No, not at all. I didn't. I could have said yes.
All right, so let's go back though. I think that one thing in today's climate that I don't want you to do is think that you have time.
Agreed.
You don't have time. So when he gave you that deal, if you can't handle it, make a call to say, hey, where's this possible? Because can I tell you this? If you can't do nothing with 4 acres, there's somebody else that can.
Yeah.
And so
I could
any opportunity, try to see where you can land it.
In a wholesale situation there, right?
100%.
Bingo.
So although you're looking to become a buy and hold landlord,
Right.
you're going to come across flips and or land that you don't want to operate due to your capital in hand and or your current situation.
Right.
But there's still an opportunity where somebody else could take advantage of it. Right. And another man's trash, another man's treasure. Yeah. And that's where you could have got a wholesale deal.
That's crazy because I just saw in the Facebook group you told me to join, somebody was like, hey, I'm actively looking for properties. That would have been a great, and it was Cortez who was on the show, right? Man.
So you never know. And
so y'all just saw me mess up real time.
It's cool. You try to land it back on me, but nah.
No, that's all me. I own it.
So just with time, just even if I don't pick up the phone call, text me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because
I didn't do that. You're right.
Because I do get a lot of texts, but if you say, hey, I got a deal, that's a whole different situation.
Understood.
I got to prioritize my calls.
I get it. It's not personal. I didn't take it personal at all.
So, but for somebody hearing this though, a lot of people may get anxiety when they come across something because, like you just said, man, it's real.
Yeah.
So let me.
Because I'm finna part with some money.
Yeah. You got to actually you got to make the calls. You got to figure it out. You got to assess the deal. Good deals don't last an hour. In today's climate, that's it. So
that's where I was struggling at. I was like, I know this is a good deal. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was a good deal for me.
So let's go back now to that deal.
Yeah.
So it's a double.
Right.
How many bedrooms on each side?
2.
So it's a 2-1, 2-2?
2-1.
2-1, 2-2. So your rents would be at $700, $800?
That's what I was expecting, yes.
All right, so let's just say we go with
one side rented out already too.
Boom. How much was the side collecting?
I think he said $740.
$740. Good. That's great numbers. All right. So I have this thing called a mortgage calculator.
Yep.
So it's an application that you could download on your phone. And so let me do some math first though. What was the price of the home again?
$159,900.
So at $159,900. 20% of that would be $31,800.
Okay.
All right. So that means that, let me take that back. Let me go back to it. $159,900, 80%. The bank's your loan on that property is going to be $127,000.
Okay.
So I would basically go into the app and put in that the loan of the property is $127,000. All right. Your interest rate will be right around 4.5.
Right.
30-year mortgage, Taxes about 1,500. Insurance about 900. No HOA fees. All right. So your payment approximately would be 845 on that property with taxes and insurance.
Okay.
All right. So let's go back to that on my calculator. So if you're doing 1,500, collecting 1,500 in rent,
Yep.
you got 850 or so
Yep.
on the property. That's 650.
Yep.
Management fees of about 150, which is 10%.
Yep.
Now you divide that by 2, you're making 250 per door.
Yeah.
That's great cash flow.
So here's where I got stuck. I'm gonna have to put 20% down, and in that scenario, I still haven't gotten to 159 because the bank only gave me 127. That delta is gonna come out of my cash flow, right?
No, you will have title closing fees.
If they want 159 and I got 127, I got to come up with the difference, right?
I did some math wrong there then. So whatever the math is, you got to cover 20% of that. So let's say it's 35,000, just for the sense of it. I might have put in a number wrong.
No. I don't think you did. What I'm saying is, if the bank is going to give me 80% of the value of the property,
You come up with the balance.
right on top of the 20% I got to put down to get the loan in the first place. Right?
No, stop.
Okay.
It's the 20%. You're confused. 80 and
That's what I
20.
did.
80 and 20 equals 100.
Correct.
You come with 20%. That's 31,000.
So my down payment is the same as that amount.
Yeah.
I was thinking I had to give them a down payment
sir,
to
sir.
get the loan.
A down payment goes towards the house. So that's your equity in the property.
Got you.
I'm sorry.
No, these are the things I was confused about when I was talking through it. I'm like, I'm not ready to do
so
this.
So the bank's
going
going
to
to give you 27?
127.
127? You're going to give 31?
There we go.
And so the only thing outside of that 31 is your
The
closing
fees.
your closing cost.
Got you. Okay. All right.
So again, your cash flow approximately would be about 250, and then you don't forget you got the tax benefits
Right.
that you will get from it. You know what I mean, and that's a way to earn.
Yeah.
But I think that the one thing we want to take away from this example is that when I look at a property, I want to make minimum $225 per door.
I didn't realize
If the
that.
property doesn't make $225 per door, I don't purchase the property.
Okay.
So that's after expenses
Yep, I got
and
you.
management fees.
I understand. So now I got another question. Because we didn't talk about that scenario, we didn't have an exit strategy for that. What would be a good exit strategy for that type of property?
Got you. So the exit strategy, 1 is to rent it. 2, typically on doubles, your exit strategy is to market to other investors.
Okay.
Right. But this is the one thing that I want you to take away from this. The price was 157 or
159, whatever.
159. You don't have to offer 159.
I know that.
But, not shooting your shot, you ain't going to score nothing.
Agreed. That's fair.
So even if it didn't meet your numbers, let's say you did the ARVs and comps,
Yeah.
and you decided, hey, it's worth about 150. In today's market, I don't know anybody taking lower than retail
Asking price,
pricing,
yeah.
but it's worth it.
No, you're right.
Because you
It's a
never
good
know.
rep.
You never know the situation, and you could have been the first offer.
It's a good
And if
rep.
they're ready to go, they'll sell it to you.
It's a good rep.
So
You're
any
right.
shot not taken, it's a loss.
Yep, you're right. I agree 100%.
You know what I mean? But in that situation, per my preference, and is to make above $225 per door, that would have met the numbers.
Okay.
If I had the down payment. I prefer to buy properties and do a little bit of construction to make it appreciate.
That's what my strategy was.
Yeah, but for your first one, I think you need to go through the motions. So buying it with the 20% down is a great thing.
Okay.
Now I think that we misunderstood 20% down and then
Right.
and the other piece.
Yeah.
But we now got clarity with that.
Yeah, I'm with it. Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right.
So this is just a great example of
Right.
power of mentorship.
Yeah. And this is exactly why I wanted to do this on camera. Because I'm like, I want to hear how he would walk me through this. Because we talked about power proximity on our last one, right? People get to see the benefit of being close in proximity to somebody who has expertise in a space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was talking to some guys that own a moving company last weekend because they're helping us move out of our current place. And I asked him about networking. He was like, yeah, I do it on Facebook and LinkedIn. And no judgment on him. I'm like, hey, you really need to get in person and shake hands and kiss babies. But just getting people to understand, like, connecting with people on social media is, and maybe I'm just old school in this. To me, that's not networking.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's definitely it's a spark. It's a entry point.
It's cold calling at best to me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think though it brings awareness. Just because I've met a lot of people through social media that initiated contact through social media.
You met them. That
True.
means you physically had to
True.
get in front of them,
True,
right?
true.
Some people consider the fact that you clicked accept as networking. They may never say anything to you. You may never say anything to them.
Let me go back to my corner. I got you. Yeah, you right. You right. So no. So what else is happening in the real estate field, bro?
So another thing that happened while we were in South Carolina was we started looking at, we were in an Airbnb.
Gotcha.
So we started thinking about, like, do we want to do the Airbnb route?
What made you question it?
The properties, I'm hearing, I haven't run the numbers myself, but I'm hearing great profit maximization in a month to month
Right.
scenario. And being in the environment and doing it, I was asking a lot of questions just about how it works, right? It's not my first time in an Airbnb, but thinking about it from a real estate investment perspective. So in the condo community, which I'm not saying that's the way to go, somebody else is taking care of the grass, so I don't have to worry about mowing the lawn. They've got cleaning companies that will come in and clean your property for a fee. And in the particular area we were in, they've got a property management group that is on site doing property management. They've got pools. You got people like me that are traveling from out of town. I don't want to deal with anything. I just want to show up, be comfortable, go out to eat, and then come back. And so I'm like, I like the turnover of it. And I like the profit potential of it versus renting to one person for a year and having them tear the house up for the time that they're there and then having to go back and do repairs, right? That's the superficial surface level of what I've seen, but it made us start talking to some of the property management groups around there because, like, we're now at the point where we want to travel more too. And I'm like, if my travel destination can pay for itself when I'm not there, that strikes a different chord with me. I haven't saw it to its end yet, but that it's starting to have that type of effect on me as I think about how we approach the market.
Got you. So this is my perspective on Airbnb as I'm trying it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do my first one. I am at least going to attempt it to see if it works, just because if it doesn't, I could always go back to renting traditionally.
Yeah.
So the only thing though is that you have to furnish it. So you may, have some expenses there.
Yep.
But I'm gonna tell you what I did. I'm a little bit urban, so I'm special. I seen this refrigerator I wanted. We had all the like notes and TV on it, and it was just like real nice. So I'm gonna take my house refrigerator, put it in Airbnb, and buy that and expense that on the property, so I can have a new refrigerator. But you know what I'm saying. But I am actually
He said I'm urban.
that's my that's my camera version of hood.
There we go. There we go. I know what you meant.
Hey, yeah.
What happened?
I'm doing that with my TV too. I want a new TV, so I'm taking my old TV, putting it in there.
Yeah.
Still look good though, but I just, I was trying to get upgrade the crib a little bit.
Hey, do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah. So, but no, so what did you guys conclude with your research? Did you have interest in that area?
Definitely.
Okay. And what's the area?
So we were South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. Ocean Drive is the last street before you get to the ocean. So we were maybe a mile from the ocean. And there's this huge condo community, right? So it's like you've got some apartments, you got some condos, and you got some standalone houses all in the same area. So looking through there, I saw price ranges from between, the further you get away from the ocean, obviously it's cheaper. So in those condos, I saw anything from the high 100s to about 249 in terms of an apartment in there versus a condo. And then the houses, I think those started at like the 250s and went up to about the 4s. I saw one billboard for a particular builder. They were building homes for 100 to 300, but I couldn't find the actual subdivision where they were building. So I'm seeing a lot of development go up. I got a general sense of the price ranges. Closer to the water, they're selling for 1.3. The highest I saw was 4. All those are between 3,000 and 7,000 square feet, depending on the property size.
Got you. That's a lot. Hey, that's dope though. That's dope. So
My conclusion though is, for my first property, if we do something like that, it would have to be a condo in a condo community, not anything residential.
So the only thing I would say about purchasing a condo is the first one. You always need to know what the association fees are,
Okay.
or the HOA,
Uh-huh.
because those are not average priced, because they are taking care of your exterior, and so those sometimes are deal breakers in the equation of acquiring real estate.
So how do you does the math break down in a similar way, like how we've talked about?
So the math is broken down in a similar way. You have your taxes, insurance, and principal payment, but you now need to add the monthly HOA fee,
Right.
which could be $400,
Whatever they decide.
and that could take away from your $225 if it was going to be a rental. But
And can't they change the HOA?
100%,
Just like
it's
they
going to
do in
continue to grow with
residential?
time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So just because you got to look at it, their expenses are going to keep getting higher. They're never going to get cheaper typically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, with time. But I mean, they have it to where it's like, annually. It could raise annually. Sometimes they're fixed for a couple years, give or take.
Yeah.
But the way things are rising right now, just got to be aware of it.
What would you say to my conclusion was, I don't want to buy a residential property as a Airbnb investment in another city as my first property. Everything I've heard from every podcast, every video, everything I've ever seen has said, make sure your first property is somewhere where you can get access to it quickly.
100%. I think that you need to you're in student mode.
Yeah.
So before you can coach others on how to manage your property,
Right.
and I think you need to understand how you want to manage your own. I think that's with anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the sergeant type of mentality: lead by the front, and then you let the troops go through. As in contrast from starting in the back,
Yeah.
it could crash a lot quicker. You know what I mean? Because you don't have you can't get to it,
And you don't
right
know
away.
what you're doing.
Yeah. So I think that you lead from the front by just executing it, going through it. I think when you do one or two, then you could go out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So one thing I'm doing with my Airbnb, it's not downtown. Typically here in Indianapolis, everything is downtown.
Yeah.
So I live in Avon. I'm 5 minutes from the airport.
Yeah.
I used this app called AirDNA. And AirDNA
Got the video.
told me the average rents Airbnb costs and revenue per property per day. And then it allowed you to see the vacancy rates. And it let you to see what was hot, what areas wasn't.
Yeah.
And that gives a little bit of direction on the areas you should buy in. So AirDNA.
DNA. All right.
Yep. Now, one thing I want to tell our audience to do, and it's a cheat code. So for me, I'm doing my first Airbnb. As a podcaster, what am I going to do? I'm going to find a guest that does Airbnbs, sit them down, and ask them everything I want to know about Airbnbs to get some mentorship. So if you ever thought about doing a podcast, that is a cheat code that we actually get to sit people down and actually learn from them and get answers to the questions they may never answer if you were face to face and or anywhere else. So that's what I'm going to do. Anything else popping, man, on the real estate side?
I'm just moving out of a house into an apartment.
Wow. That's going to be different.
Bruh, we walked in there.
Oh, that boy felt like jail. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm not hating. I'm not throwing shade on anybody living in an apartment. I grew up in an
No,
apartment.
I get it.
It's just, I told my wife, this is going to be like working the summer job in between being in college. You come home and work that summer job, you be like, I'm
ready to go back.
I'm graduating. I'm graduating. That's what it feels like. It's like, okay, we needed this to get focused, right? So I'm like, we're choosing to go into an apartment. We're not obligated to go into an apartment. But now that the furniture's there and we're starting to move our stuff over, I'm like, get ready, because like we really got to go hard.
What's really dope about that, if same parallel example is just how you've had, you reached success with your first flip.
Yeah.
And you tasted it. You're enjoying it right now. that's going to drive
Oh yeah.
your will to make sure that you get that again.
Yeah.
And in the past, you've asked me about entrepreneurship, and I was like, man, e-commerce is the way to go.
Yeah.
I'll never go back to work. You know what I mean? This is work, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I put mad hours in. Shit, we're podcasting at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, like, this lifestyle, it's priceless. So I'm going to do the work to maintain it.
Yeah.
You know, so the same thing goes for what you're doing. Like, man, I've had a beautiful home and I've enjoyed my home. So I'm going to make sure that I achieve that again for myself and my family.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, we were walking on the beach, and I was like, I don't want to have to leave the beach tired, get in the car, drive a mile to go stay in the Like, that ain't the move.
Hey, Jaden got bougie on us, man, over the last
No.
month or two.
No, that's not it. And I'm telling her, there's houses on the beach. I want to leave the beach and go walk in the house. I don't want to have to. Because here's the thing I learned in the military. Whether you're an E1, right, or let's say a private first class, an E3, or you're the guy who runs the base, you know what's true about both of those people?
What's true about them?
They both have to be on the base every day. They both got to go clock in. So if I got to show up to work and I'm the private, and you got to show up to work and you're the general, you're getting paid more money than I am, and we both got to be there. That makes no sense to me to decide then I'm cool with being a private first class. No, because you got to be here and I got to be here, but you're getting paid more money than me. That was my mentality the whole time I was in the military. And so for me, it translates into everything else. I got a condo, you got a house. We both want to be here. We both want to enjoy it. Why do I have to settle for this version of it? If that's the version I really want. So I tell people all the time, don't lie to yourself. In that moment, that was me saying, I'm not going to lie to myself. I do not enjoy having a great day at the ocean, being tired, getting in the car, driving back a mile the other way to go to the condo. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I'd be lying to myself if I said it wouldn't be nice to just walk over the dune and go into the house that's on the beach.
So get on your grind. There it is.
That's how I motivate myself.
There it is, man. Man, that's a great episode here, man. We got here a lot of information now. Did you tap in with some? I see you tapped in with the agent. What's going on with the money? Any lending?
So I talked to a guy who will potentially do some hard money lending for me, but I'm building that relationship. He's opened the door. Actually, two of them. They've opened the door.
Any names, man, to help us out?
So I'll say as much as one of them is a real estate investor throughout the country and owns a nightclub here in the city.
So private money lender.
Right.
Got you. How'd you approach him?
I tried to add value.
Like let's talk about it. Like walk us through that.
So the relationship was initiated through Brunch and Grooves. We were taught. So for those of you who don't know, my partner and I, two of my partners and I, own an event series called Brunch and Grooves. We are constantly talking with people and trying to find places where we can do Brunch and Grooves. So I usually handle some of the pitches, right? And so I'm sitting down explaining some of the pitch details to him. And I immediately start digging into, so like, what do you do? How did you get to where you are? What are you doing outside of, where I'm sitting at? And he begins to talk about real estate. So I immediately go into question asking mode. How did you do this? And how did you do that? And I explain why I'm asking. I'm asking all these questions because I'm considering a move into real estate. That usually lets people kind of let their guard down because most people are willing to help if they know what your angle is. So I was just upfront and honest about what I was trying to do. I made sure I didn't crowd the conversation. We quickly got back to what the topic was because that's where the value was at the time. But since then, over about a 3-month period, we've delivered on the Brunch and Groove side. I've tried to add value through introducing him to other people because he's from out of the city and he's trying to build a network here. I'm pretty well connected in the city, so I'm trying to introduce him to people intentionally. So I would show up at his establishment. I'd call people, hey, come through. I want you to meet somebody. Things like that. And over time, it's just turned into me intentionally trying to add value to what he's doing makes it comfortable then to say, hey, here's where I'm really at. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm not asking you to do anything specifically, but you're somebody I would like to come to as I'm evaluating deals and trying to figure out how to actually acquire these properties. Would you be interested? Here's what my cash flow or my capital looks like, blah, 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 blah.
So you have to show some vulnerability.
Exactly.
Got
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Now,
And so
one thing I want people to know about this, your lender is essentially one of your mentors.
you told me that before.
Because when he lends you money, he basically is going to evaluate and
Bingo.
audit the deal.
Yeah.
So now you get a second set of eyes with experience
Yeah.
that's going to evaluate your deal and prevent you from possibly hitting your head, or falling in your butt.
So here's my next move, right? I've done it once already. The evaluation process. I evaluated the deal I told you I didn't jump on. My next step was to bring it to you. The next person I'm going to bring it to is this other guy.
Gotcha.
To say, hey, I passed this up, it didn't work out, but let's look at it in retrospect and say, here's what I was thinking. What would you have done about this, and how would you approach it?
Gotcha. So I wouldn't do that.
No?
So this is why I wouldn't do it, because if he's a big heavy hitter, he don't got time for that.
Okay.
He only got time for things that are going to make him money.
Got you.
So bring him active deals.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I want to see active deals. I don't want to see coulda, woulda, shouldas.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? It's just like when people are networking, I don't want to hear about your idea.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
hear about
What you're
where you got
executing.
stuck at, and I can help you and support you where you got stuck at to keep you going.
So that wouldn't be the equivalent of that? Because that's how I was thinking about it.
If you stuck, you're in progress. We're moving forward.
We can't act.
You can practice on your own,
Yeah,
and then you can send me the deals to evaluate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm getting some practice in.
Yeah,
But I'm looking at them when I have time.
Got you.
I'm not, things that. That's why I say
actually-
text me. I got a deal.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna prioritize that because it's opportunity.
Got you. Yep. There's no opportunity if the deal's already closed. I got you.
So
I follow you.
there's lack of energy that you're gonna get back in
that
response.
makes sense. That makes total sense. I get you.
You know what I mean? All right. So what else we've been tapping into, boss?
That's it, man.
You said two lenders. That was one.
Oh, sorry. So a mentor of mine from my church had a conversation with me and just was like, "Hey, tell me what you're doing, what you're working on." He agreed to hard money lending up to $100,000 for my first opportunity.
Hey man, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
So now I'm like, okay,
All right. So how
There's
did
no
you approach him?
I didn't have to. I've known him for 15 years, and he's seen me work.
Hey bro, so you just you be looking at dudes and just be like, oh, that's 100,000.
No.
So how did the conversation go?
So it was one of those where it's like we probably once a year get out to lunch or breakfast or something. We try to. So it's a long-standing relationship. We've been doing that for a while. I call him, he'll pick up the phone and meet with me. So in those conversations, he's known I've been trying to get into real estate. I told him my plan 5 years ago. I was either going to get my real estate license first and then get my MBA or get my MBA, blah, 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 blah. I've completed those steps. So now we're back re-engaging about, okay, now I'm looking at acquiring properties. Well, what have you found? I plan on telling him about the one that I found. But in these, in the initial conversations, it was, hey, I'm meeting with this guy. Here's what we're talking about. I'm learning these strategies. We're looking at properties, ideally where I can have about $100,000 in the property cost, and then be able to actually flip that, turn it into more money. Okay, let me
Gotcha.
know when you get a property. I'll give you your first $100,000. So if I would have said 125, he probably would have said 125. I don't know, but that's how it came about.
Got you. All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. When he wants to know what he got going on, he don't want to know about that deal that you missed. He almost wants to hear. He almost wants to hear how many offers you put in a week. He wants to hear your analytics.
Okay.
You put in 20 offers, you get one deal on average.
Okay.
So we got to start getting offers out there. He wants to see that you're active.
Okay.
Because if you're active, that means that you're evaluating deals daily.
Gotcha.
Even if you're not striking gold. Man, we had 20 opportunities. I didn't get any offers accepted.
Okay.
Oh, you put in offers? That means that he knows that you're getting reps in.
Gotcha.
The more reps you're getting, the more comfortable you're going to get. And that means that he's going to understand that you're sharpening your pencil and evaluating deals.
Got you. So don't I need to have a loan in place before I?
I mean,
make an offer?
that in essence is one of the loans. So the next step is we need to get a hard money lender. You know what I mean? So a construction lender
Yeah.
that we talked about. So you can get pre-approval, and that pre-approval is good for a year.
Yeah.
So that's our next step then.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and so you could use them as gap funding. So let me explain the gap funding for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Gap funding is, let's say, you buy a property, and the loan, you're going to have to come out of pocket on that construction loan 10%.
Okay.
Right? You could use that 100,000 as the gap funder.
Gotcha.
Put them second on the mortgage.
Okay.
So the primary is going to be the construction lender.
Right.
The secondary is going to be him.
Right.
So the loan is backed by the property, meaning that if you fail, they have a lien on the property.
Yeah.
So they're secured.
Yeah.
And what happens is you keep your money in your pocket. You could execute more deals.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how you leverage them in this case if you go get a construction loan and you have the private money.
Okay.
And you may say, hey, man, it's only $10,000. But we want to work them for $10,000 and give them that 10% return to build our credibility up.
Right. That makes total sense. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And even if you fail at that, you could cover that cost. And it's nothing. But at least he's exercising investing with you, building confidence. You start building a rapport that's outside of the primary conversation. It's now real estate.
Yeah.
And that trust is built up until you get to a point where, like, hey, man, I got an opportunity where I need to use the whole 100,000. It's still available.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's how we move that like that. So the next step for us is that.
Execute deals.
And now that you have that lender, the construction loan approved, you can now keep shooting.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think having that, it's going to put fire under your ass anyway. So I say we go with that, man.
Okay.
Any questions you got for me this week, man?
Construction lender.
Got you.
Get one of those?
I got a guy named Jerry. Got some of the best rates out there. And he lends to first-time investors.
Okay.
So I'll tap into that with you, and then we'll go from there, man.
Perfect.
All right, cool. Again, man, thank you for tapping in into another episode. We're dealing with Dre. Also, don't forget to tell a friend, man, to check us out on YouTube and all podcast networks. Stay tapped in, man. We got some great interviews coming up. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the other side.